What's up, everybody? Welcome to the JESS MARSHALL solo podcast, Curious Jess, another edition where I get to sit down, just me and you, and talk about things that are on my mind, things that I'm interested in, annoyed by, fascinated by, the whole nine yards. Hope you enjoy the podcast. Let's go. So this week, if you've had an eye or an ear out anywhere, with any regard to any mainstream media of any kind, social media as well, you've seen Prince Harry all over the place promoting his book. And you might be asking, Jess, what in the wide world are you doing talking about the Royals? And y'all probably know my opinion about the Royals. Not a big fan. Don't really understand the hubbub, but I do understand that the Royals were pretty much the beginning of reality TV. They were reality TV for all the boomers before there were the Kardashians or any other reality TV mainstream personalities, so I get the fascination, although I don't understand it at all. We won the Revolutionary War for a damn reason. Prince Harry, though, comes to mind as an interesting figure to us because he's a rugby man. So whenever England is playing another country, Prince Harry's actually Duke of, well, I don't know how it all works out. They're dukes of this and lords of that and all that BS, but he's always at rugby matches. He played rugby growing up. So an interesting cat to follow along with, and definitely seems like he's a bit of a counterculturalist. Him and Meghan up and outing from the royal family, and they're I guess just celebrity figures now, but he's really going all in on this book, throwing his brother under the bus. Lots of blaming, which it is what it is, man. More power to him. He's trying to sell a book. Talking a lot about how dark things were for him, though, after his mom died, dealing with grief. And what I found interesting was how forthcoming he was, because it's becoming so mainstream, his experiences with psychedelics recently. So he's talking on 2020 or Dateline or, gosh, I don't know, CBS 60 Minutes, about ayahuasca, psilocybin, and how those helped him process his grief apart from drugs and alcohol, which it sounds like he was using, self-medicating with those for quite some time. I just think it's so interesting that really just this last year it's become so mainstream and so acceptable. Obviously, laws have changed in states like Oregon and Colorado. Some other states have decriminalized the use of psilocybin. There's the FDA working on a PTSD study for using psilocybin medically. But I just find it fascinating. You've got Aaron Rodgers jumping on the Joe Rogan podcast talking about ayahuasca. You've got Prince Harry talking about it. It's becoming very, very mainstream now. And I think that's great. I think that if it's something that you feel drawn to that might be able to help you, you should definitely track it down and give it a shot. I just think there's a word of caution there for it becoming this trending fad where people are using it as a status symbol or using it as a reason to create content or as a way to develop something to tell a story about. I'm not trying to virtue signal or be holier than thou or anything like that, but I would definitely kind of search your motives if you're going to try that stuff out and make sure that it's for yourself, not for your brand, not for social media, not for the stories you can tell. Because if you go into it and those are your intentions, whether you speak those intentions or those are your subconscious intentions, I don't think you're going to have the experiences that you want to have. And while I've found it to be monumentally helpful to me this last year, 2022, I do think that there needs to be caution around it in terms of why are you using psychedelics? What is your motive? What's the reasoning behind it? I think if it helped Prince Harry find balance and get to the bottom of his grief, that's awesome. I think that it's very interesting when people almost invent drama just for the sake of creating clickbait, just to get eyes on their book, eyes on their interview. You've got to, however, you got to balance that out with it is becoming more mainstream, and I think it's positive that we're talking about mental health, especially that men are. Jonah Hill has a new movie up on Netflix, him and his counselor talking about him working through some things. I mean, if you're not happy with your life the way it is, a better life is out there waiting, but you gotta go reach out and get it, and you gotta do the work. And I think maybe the misconception about psychedelics is that you can just take this substance, just like popping a big pharma pill, and it's just going to solve the problem, and you're going to move on without having to do any work. And we all know that's not true, whether we tell ourselves that or not. Anything worthwhile is going to be difficult. Anything easy is probably not going to be worthwhile. That's a pretty reasonable rule of thumb that I try to observe on the daily. If it's easy, it's probably not worthwhile. If it's worthwhile, it's probably not easy. Maybe that's not always true, but it's sure true way more than it's not true. Just like if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So there's no easy answers. There's no easy button. There's no silver bullet. If you're going through things in your life, if you're trying to process trauma, if you are just depressed, if you find yourself, not passionate about life, if nothing is lighting your fire, if you've got no fire to carry, there are definitely avenues to help. We've dropped a couple of podcasts with grown, successful men talking about fighting their way through depression, anxiety, etc. So, I mean, if you're out there and you're a man and you're struggling, there's ways through it, and you don't have to deal with it on your own. In fact, like Richard Brunson says, the great Richard Brunson, watching his HBO documentary, it's outstanding. The meaning of life is to try things and learn things and then share those things. And if you're going through something, I guarantee if you reach out, there's somebody else who's been through it, who's figured out a way to get through it. And like I said before, man, there's a better life out there waiting. You just gotta reach out there and grab it. Speaking of reaching out there and grabbing it, Andrew Tate had his probation record, or his, I guess he appealed his jail time. He was arrested on charges of human trafficking, prostitution, etc. in Romania, where he lives with all his cars, working his Top G program. Very successful guy. His character online, I don't know if that's really him in real life, but it certainly made him a lot of money, or he says it has. But his appeal was denied, and it looks like he's going to have to finish out 30 days in that Romanian jail. And there's people saying that he did these things. I think that it's highly unlikely. It's at least very unwise if he did the things he's accused of after bringing as much attention to himself as he has, especially in the way that he has. I think that a lot of the things that he says are right on the money, and then he'll come out of nowhere with things that don't make any sense. If you haven't taken the time, I would recommend you check out the Patrick Bet David podcast with Andrew Tate. Patrick is a very intelligent guy. He's a independently wealthy businessman. He does the podcast to talk to interesting people, is what he says, and he's talked to a lot of interesting people. I find his insights to be interesting as well. I don't always agree with him, but he's a very successful entrepreneur, and he sat down. I think, Sohail, if you pull that up on YouTube, Patrick Bet David Andrew Tate, I think that's a 4-hour podcast. Lots of cigar smoking from Tate. He's got his aviators on with the porn star tint on them. He's got quite the brand. Andrew does.
5 hours.
A 5-hour podcast. That's insane. Do you think they jumped up and used the restroom at all during the podcast? I mean, 5 hours sitting down at all in one place, unless you're flying to Australia, seems a little bit excessive. But I've listened to most of that podcast. Either on YouTube or one of the audio only platforms, and it's interesting. Patrick is a very astute interviewer. He doesn't joust with his guests. He doesn't make them uncomfortable. But my goodness, he calls them on their shit.
I've never heard of this guy.
Patrick Bet David.
Never.
Yeah, very interesting guy.
Crazy. I'm so on YouTube, so online. There's still people.
I think you would find some of his content to be interesting. Some of it's reasonably boring, but he has good insights, about Twitter and the economy and politics, most especially. And like I said, he doesn't get adversarial with people, but he had the wide receiver who played for the Steelers, then for the Raiders, then for the Buccaneers, who's now been arrested a couple of times and is going through some really tough stuff, who's kind of a controversial fella. Gosh, his name's escaping me right now, and usually my memory's right on the money, but he had him on talking about Tom Brady. It's a very interesting guy, Patrick. He's got a brand called Valuetainment on social media, and I think they bring a pretty good amount of value. He's got some other contributors on that Valuetainment platform that have interesting points of view. And as you guys know, the podcast for me is just about me sitting down with people who I may not have encountered anywhere in regular life, but I have them up to the studios to sit down and talk about their life, their story, their viewpoints. Whether I may agree with them or not, I think that the most interesting people in the world are the people who mentally are always looking to grow. So they're always listening to other viewpoints, looking at other things from different perspectives. They're not so locked in, this is what I believe, this is why I believe it, this will never change, on the solid rock I stand, whatever. Yes, have convictions. Yes, you live your life by a code of ethics, but also I like to look around. I like to say, man, what's this guy over here doing? He's living his life. He's living a successful life, and he's living it differently than me. This is interesting. It just is interesting to me. In this podcast, the JESS MARSHALL podcast is about meeting interesting people. Back to Andrew Tate, though, for a second. Him being completely deplatformed from all social media. So TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, right? He's kicked off all of those, demonetized off all of those. I find that approach to be laughable, because it's almost like mommy and daddy are watching over your screen time, right?
Well, that is what it is, but you got to remember a few months ago when that happened, the effect Tate was having on like a whole generation of young men. You go into the schools and boys are changing their behavior because of Tate's messaging. And sure, is that on the parents? Maybe, but we don't live in a society where we 100% depend on the parents to shape our society.
Yeah,
we have corporations that do that. Twitter's a corporation.
Yes.
YouTube's a corporation. They don't want to be. They have advertisers. It's just a business, free market.
There you go.
They don't want to be associated with that.
Follow the money. It is their business. It's much like all the hubbub about the Hunter Biden laptop, Twitter bullshit, FBI, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. If you're on the right and you feel like the election got stolen because Twitter got hijacked and it's not fair, go start your own social media platform and get everybody to join there, and you can create a thought bubble.
He tried.
And they're still trying. And everybody's going to try. Or not. This whole information and controlling information thing, though, it's a really slippery slope, man. It really is.
It's literally not the government doing it.
No, it's not the government doing it.
So does that mean, do you believe Twitter and Facebook and YouTube are so powerful and big that they need to be governmentally controlled either by ownership or regulation?
I'm a capitalist. I would think that it would make the most sense for some of your more popular personalities to work together to create a platform that they believe is freer.
If you're a capitalist, this is just a result of capitalism. But the thing is, you know as well as I do, capitalism results in monopolies. These are monopolies that are very hard to challenge. Even Truth Social couldn't do it, you know?
Well, yeah. You've seen that Trump hasn't posted on Twitter, and I believe he's back.
Yeah.
But he hasn't posted on there, and he's got a truckload of followers, and the common the common consensus is that he's got to deal with Truth Social to only post on Truth Social and not to go back to Twitter, because that would take a lot of the wind out of the sails of Truth Social. Listen, it's a brave new world, right? Everyone's getting their information from different sources than they've ever gotten it from. You've got big-time mainstream media outlets like CNN losing market share hand over fist faster than they know what to do with, losing money. They tried to start their own pay platform. They lost all kinds of money in the first month, had to shut it down. So I think time will tell.
Capitalism, free market stuff, but deplatforming seems to be effective. So in these cases, I mean, okay, how would you answer what if it was Jeffrey Epstein? All right, like, as details come out with Andrew Tate, his story is so similar. What he was doing, the only thing Epstein didn't do to not garner the support of people like the Nelk boys or the people still bolstering up Tate is making videos about how masculine what he's doing a guidebook on how cool sex trafficking is, right?
Top G, bro.
That's what Tate did, and people defend him. People are being like, oh, deplatforming. If this was Epstein, no one would say anything about.
Well, look, that's why I have serious doubts about whether or not the accusations against Tate are accurate, because why would you go make yourself such a huge target?
Just
whether
they
or not
are
you're
not
living
accusations. On his website, he's telling you how to be a digital pimp. Like,
yes, I understand what you're saying.
It's not an accusation. It's like, I understand innocent until proven guilty, but come on.
There are lots of these red pill type guys going around telling everybody this is what went. There's by the way, I watched that movie that you recommended.
Oh damn, he just got canceled. He just
who did?
Andrew Callahan. Were you talking about the HBO, or
no?
you talking about Don't Worry, Darling?
Yeah, I was talking about Don't Worry, Darling, which is a narrative on another personality I want to talk about here in a minute. But it is certainly trending that there are personalities, social media personalities, both women and men, talking about traditional roles of women and men, talking about how it should be, talking about how it used to be, talking about how everything would be better if we went back to traditional roles.
Sure. What about talking about how to do the lover boy pimp strategy and get a woman to do camming or OnlyFans, and you take all their money, you lie to them about taxes, you withhold their funds from them. That too, right? That's just tradition?
No, that's not tradition, and I think that's exploitation. I think that obviously what this comes back to for me is I don't need mommy and daddy telling me what I can watch. And if I was a grown woman, whether or not we believe that an 18-year-old woman is a grown woman who's mature enough to make her own decisions, although science would say that an 18-year-old woman is quite a bit more mature than an 18-year-old man is. Science says that, not me. It's not my opinion. Andrew Tate out there telling you if you become this super high-value guy, you don't need to be. You'll have a line of women out the door, and they cannot expect loyalty from you. Again, it just comes back to the type of person you are and the life that you want to live. If that's the life you want to live, you're going to live by the sword and die by the sword. If you're going to be in surface level relationships, that's totally your decision, man. I hope that you have that discussion honestly with the other person. Whether you're a woman who wants a surface level relationship or a man, I hope that or a man and a man or a woman and a woman or a they and a they, whatever. I hope the person on the other side of the table from you understands, hey, I don't want a committed relationship. I want something fun. I want something surface level. I don't want to get super serious. It's when you mislead someone to get something from them by camouflaging your intentions that I have a problem. I think that what Andrew Tate tells a lot of these young bros is attractive to young bros because young bros feel like they don't have the leverage online that their female counterparts do. Don't you agree, Sohill, to a degree?
No.
You
Not
don't
at
have you don't have the immediate ability to create an audience with the way you look if you're a bro that you do if you're a woman. I think that resonates with a lot of guys who are not high value young men. I think they're pissed. They want a line of girls out the door, right? Because that's an ego thing for a lot of guys. I'm in high demand, so everybody wants me. I mean, that's what a lot of dudes want. That's why they get drawn to these fake gurus or these Andrew Tate type personalities where it's Lambos and Maseratis and the pool and throwing porn stars off the roof like Dan Bilzerian. Right? We've seen this movie play out many times with these misogynistic characters. It's just that Tate is much more articulate about and way more prolific in terms of content.
Tate is funny and entertaining and appealing. I don't think everyone's goal is to be have a big online presence. I don't think that's the main appeal of Tate to his followers. But you gotta, I feel like comparing him to even Fresh and Fit and other people who have had accusations of stuff, there's a problem right now with information and where information comes out now and hold on. Computer just flashed. Information comes out and we want to just be like, hey, I don't know if that's true. They're lying to us. Just because you have the preconception of media being against certain type of person. Media's always been against sex traffickers and pimps. It's not a
Well, you talking about news media? Because if you look at hip hop culture, that's promoted. I mean, there's things on there are things on YouTube that get demonetized all the time. Videos.
I'm talking about the media that's reporting on Andrew Tate.
News media have always said that they're against sex trafficking and the exploitation of people.
It's not a new woke narrative to be against that, is what I'm saying.
No, I agree with you. Don't you then also think that it's somewhat unbelievable that there's not a lasting, fervent outrage about the fact that we don't have a list from the Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell stuff? Because that's just over and done with, game over.
I mean, that's a whole,
It is, and I don't want to get into that today. And that's kind of a dead horse that's been beaten, but there's no answers. And there's a lot of people, both sides of the political aisle involved. Probably most of the reason why we don't have answers. But politics is its own riddle. I mean, the Republicans can't even get their Speaker of the House voted in properly or in a timely manner. Yeah. So
I think I'm trying to. There's a difference between the conversation about deplatforming that has nothing to do with the conversation about being skeptical of if Tate's charges are true. These are two things that are being conflated.
Well, we can't say they're true until they're proven true. I mean, what he says online, if that's for entertainment value or if he's got a class, his top G course is to teach you how to be a high value guy that can get any girl anytime, doesn't have to be loyal to him. You have so much money, you're in such high demand that you can call your shots.
That's what I guess that's what the case, the trial's going to be, because it's like Alex Jones claiming that it's all performance art, which, I mean, most of it is, but when it's convenient, right? So is Andrew gonna go out there and be like, oh, I was just doing a performance art?
Well, so here's my problem with that. That's performance in the exact same way that somebody puts together a hip hop song, a rap song.
Y'all are making me real nervous. The Matrix is coming.
We think we're gonna get
the Matrix is gonna come for us, man. This conversation is real.
Well,
worrisome.
I was gonna move over to.
Also, I did a funny comment and nobody saw it.
What's up, man? Really good event last night. Guys, the man, the myth, the legend.
Matrix is coming.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan Harper Belmont Media. We were all here late last night helping build Harper Belmont into the juggernaut that it's going to be.
So he'll show Jess my comment.
I want to see this comment. This better be fucking funny because he walked all the way in here and pointed it out. So I have low expectations, but I'm sure it's awesome. While we continue to round this out,
Do you not see it?
I can't. I'm blind, bro. I got to get LASIK. I'm getting LASIK in like 2 weeks.
How about now?
No.
Is it up?
Yeah,
You
it's
just
up.
can't read
It's
it?
up on top.
Want me to read
it's
it?
too small.
I don't want to read this shit.
Yeah, it's cool. So back
No, I'm
to our
just
little
joking. He
debate,
said,
though.
Andrew Tate is to insecure men what Lizzo is to insecure women. I like that.
Look, man, if you're taking your cues from somebody on social media about how to talk to women, how to approach women, or how to live your life, I don't know what to tell you. If you're using social media as a tool to better your life and you're learning how to biohack, how to get fitter and faster and richer and happier, then let's go. That's what I'm all about. How to optimize your life, how to enhance every part of your life. But if you're going, if Andrew Tate is your morning devotional, or if Jordan Peterson is, or I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. That's on you.
Joseph Robinette Rogan.
Yeah, I mean, you can do whatever you want to do. That's the beauty of life. It's yours. You can customize that son of a bitch, and you should. But taking your cues from somebody who the only thing they want from you is your view, your subscribership, and then your money. If you're paying Andrew Tate, what is his program? I think it's $39.99 a month.
Yep. Yeah.
To learn how to be a top G. Then I think you might have some things in your life that are a little out of priority. You should probably, instead of taking the top G class, you should probably go get another
gym
job.
membership.
Yeah.
With that 40
Maybe
bucks.
get a side hustle. Maybe do OnlyFans of your feet. I don't know. Get another job. Go to the gym. Walk a couple miles a day. Go get a DIY suntan. There's a lot of things you can do to better your life, and you don't need anyone's advice. I hope that if you use social media with regularity, that you're using it as a tool, that you're making social media work for you and you're not working for social media. And I would 1,000% monitor your screen time because, man, life is big and beautiful. It's unbelievable. I've been hiking a bunch lately around our area lakes. I can't begin to tell you. Go out, do some deep breathing exercises right by a big body of water, and the head high that you will get will blow you away. It's almost a psychedelic experience, and it's right there. There's lakes. There's 4 lakes within a stone's throw of anybody in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. So the moral of the story is, I don't know what's going to happen to Andrew Tate. If Andrew Tate's going to get dialed in on because he's putting out entertaining content that has a misogynistic angle to it, then I see no reason why he should be dialed in on, and we shouldn't have some people who write hip-hop and rap songs, which there are young men who listen to those as those are coaching tips of how to live your life, how to become successful. Those are the metrics by which success is measured, right? I mean, we're talking about
really interesting comparison, like, because
seriously,
there is
dude,
an industry of,
seriously, there's shit on YouTube that gets demonetized.
Well,
a spoken word video, and then there's a full rap video that says things that are worse. And what? Because there's a cool beat and music behind it, it's good to go, and it's fully monetized, and it's making whoever put it out there a ton of money. What is the difference? I don't understand.
Well, to me, my initial knee-jerk reaction is that is an insane comparison.
So
but
a music video is art, but content is not?
Yes. So if content is entertainment, right? Where is that line? I don't know. That's where the whole deplatforming.
Well, so what's the rule?
If
I sing it to you, it's cool. Use women, get as many as you want.
Well, the hip hop and art is a reflection of society, right? Now, are these content creators a reflection of society? Yeah. Like there is an undercurrent of incels and weirdos who need that, or who agree with the manosphere people, and even a lot of women. Like I've met a lot of women who are on board with these guys too.
I know several personally. Yeah.
So
there are a lot that agree with it.
So you see deplatforming happen with someone like Tate or someone like Alex Jones. Name some other like people who actually got deplatformed. I guess Trump.
Yeah, Trump got deplatformed. There were a lot of people who had things to say that were not in line with what was acceptable when it came to the cold. They got deplatformed. That had nothing to do with the mistreating or exploitation of women.
Well, that's a whole that's misinformation. But yeah.
Okay, according to who?
Science.
Who gets to decide that?
Current.
Oh, but science has changed, and I'm not going to get off on the cold today, or we're not going to get to anything else we want to talk about. But there have been a lot of changes recently. The FDA is releasing new press releases. They're walking things back. So is the CDC. So things that are being said now on platforms, popular social media platforms, if you said those in late 2020 or in early 21 or late 21 or even early 22, your channel was gone, man. Gone. And I just think I think that it is so smarmy to tell viewers, hey, you don't get to watch this because we think if you watch this, it's going to affect your thinking. Now, whether or not it does affect thinking or not, we're so dialed in that people are so stupid that they can't think for themselves at all. That's just all I'm saying. That's a very, very slippery slope.
That's a very broad way of describing the situations that actually happen. Alex Jones, for example, resulted in harassment, which is against all of these companies' policies for the Sandy Hook parents, right?
Yeah.
Andrew Tate has resulted in harassment to specific streamers, specific influencers, content people online, and not famous people online. Those are results that are against the terms of service of these platforms. Right?
Again,
it's not telling you what to watch because we don't think you can handle it, or like it's going to influence the way you behave. It does influence the way people behave, and then after
in
that
your
happens,
opinion, because you're using the word people very broad sweeping. It doesn't influence me, and I'm a person.
That's not what I mean.
Maybe it influences a 19-year-old kid with a 14-year-old brain.
It calls to action harassment by specific people. It's a different thing than just how you think.
Yeah, it's interesting. Kind of like Kathy Griffin holding up Trump's bloody head on Twitter. Does that not incite any type of harassment or bullying, or is that cool? It's just there's a double standard all over the place. That can't be argued. That cannot be argued. The double standard around here is out of control.
There is a double standard when it comes to public figures and certain the threshold for calling it or quantifying harassment towards a public figure versus a not public figure. That in this age of influencers, that's like a new thing to navigate, but that is how it is. If you're a public figure and you put yourself out there and someone does performance art holding your decapitated head, that's a little different than
performance art, though. Yeah, let me dial back in on that, because that's what I'm talking about with some of these songs that glorify a life of crime and a life of exploiting women and a life of misogyny, and those are monetized to the hilt on these big platforms, and yet a spoken word that is almost like, well, that's really what that person thinks. I mean, I say what I think.
It is a huge problem of the record companies and the way they exploit rappers
and you're pretty young,
music.
But do you remember when they put before social media, the parental advisory argument when I was a teenager was huge. There were all kinds of artists who got all fired up that a parental advisory sticker was going to be put on their cassette or their CD, back when that's how we consumed musical content. And that was to let parents know, right? Because music can change the way a young person thinks and acts. And that's actually some of the beauty of music is music can be counterculture. Look at the Sex Pistols. Look at Pearl Jam. Look at some of the big groups who do get very political. It's one of those things, man. I don't think you can say to a content creator, well, that's not art.
Okay, there's a problem in terms of how record companies exploit drill music, violent music, music that calls, music that you could say has a negative societal impact, but I think it's such a rudimentary way to think about art, and it may seem hypocritical when I'm talking about Andrew Tate or Fresh and Fit versus hip-hop music, but music, especially hip-hop music, is a result of the material conditions of the people making it. Art is a reflection of society.
And don't you think that some of this spoken content that's being deplatformed is the same? It is a result.
Sure, that's why I'm saying you deplatform when there is.
And who gets to decide? It's a lot like signing a very, very complex contract.
Well, if you can draw a link from a video or a tweet to an act of harassment or act of violence.
Okay, so what do we need? We need one of these teenage kids who's maybe he's a Texas high school football player, and if he commits some sort of assault against one of his female classmates, when he's in the interrogation room, hopefully with his representation, since he's not 18 and not an adult, he's got to say, well, I learned this from Andrew Tate, and that's how we know that Andrew Tate is actually affecting the hearts and minds of America's youth. I think if you're talking about connecting things linearly, that's the reach of all reaches.
That's different from being deplatformed from Twitter because it's causing harassment on Twitter.
Well, causing harassment,
like, it's not outside of the
and what they're saying is being
that,
deemed as misogynistic. Now, I'm not saying I agree or disagree. I agree with a lot of what Tate has to say. And then he'll say things that blow me away that make no sense. Almost.
It goes back to the free market thing of Twitter seeing in the thread of Andrew Tate's tweets a bunch of hate towards people calling him out or voicing a different opinion.
Hey, he engages. You got to give the guy that. If somebody calls him out, he goes right at that person. He understands the value of creating a groundswell in the comments.
For sure.
And that blows him up. The guy whether you agree with him or not, I put something out about Ellen a couple of weeks ago. I said, you remember that? I said, you got to admire. I got a whole bunch of messages. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, let's just take away the blinders of I vote Republican or I vote Democrat and just think for yourself for a minute. It's all I'm saying. And while we're talking about Andrew Tate, let's talk about Jordan Peterson, who has just been called to the carpet by the province of Ontario, by academia. And because he put out some tweets about Trudeau and some other left-leaning politicians, he's been told that he's got to go through a social media re-education course in order to keep his license. And he doesn't practice as a clinical psychologist anymore. He has achieved, escape velocity. He's bigger than the system. His speaking tour, he charges more for tickets to his speaking tour than top comics do. And I don't believe that he's going to fold and that he's going to go through this re-education process. That would shock the hell out of me. Jordan also understands his place in the current culture, which is as many people who just buy into everything he says, lock, stock, and barrel. They don't break it down and think for themselves. They're just like, Jordan Peterson said this, blinders on, I'm going straight forward. And again, a lot of what he says is right on the money. Make your bed, be disciplined, lead a life that's so valuable that you don't have to escape from it with drugs and alcohol. That's awesome advice. Everyone should take that advice, especially young men. Be a leader in your sphere. Up your own standards. The greatest form of rebellion today in 2023 is having standards, your own, that are so high that you can't be distracted because your objective, your goal, your dream is so big, so monolithic that your focus can't be taken away from that by instant gratification or by a distraction or by procrastination. You just go through your day systematically, knocking down goal after goal, going after what you want. But again, a guy like Tate or a guy like Jordan Peterson, they have done what many people who like to talk controversially have done. Alex Jones, to a degree, did this as well when he was completely deplatformed. he's absolutely off the beaten path way more than Tate and Peterson or Alex Jones is, but creating escape velocity so that you can get eyeballs on you that are going to come find you. You don't have to be viral for people to find you or to have heard of you. That is the goal of a lot of these people, and I think a lot of them say things that are just out of left field sometimes, and I don't know if it's what they believe, but it's what they say. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. There's a scripture in the Christian Bible about that. I think that's very true. And I just think that I think that telling everyone, stop watching that person, stop listening to that person, what they're saying that's going to affect you negatively, is insulting. That insults my intelligence to tell me, I'm taking this person off YouTube, I don't want you to see their videos, I think it's going to affect your behavior, your thought patterns. Fuck you. Get the fuck out of here. I'm going to watch what I want, when I want. All right? That's just the way it is. I think that there is I think, however, that the outrage is totally misplaced and it's a waste of time. If you're saying something that's so controversial that a private company says, oh, you can't post on our platform, go start your own platform. If you're that good, they'll find you. You know, my dad gave me some really good advice when I was younger. I wanted to play in these select sports leagues. I thought I was good enough, and I was for a few of them. The cost and the time to be involved in those select leagues was next level. It wasn't sustainable. And my dad told me, keep living, keep doing what you're doing, and following your passions. Okay? My dad was never one of these helicopter parents. It was, you're interested in that? He would encourage, my mom too. But he said, if you're good enough, they'll find you. If your opinions are good enough, you should be able to start your own platform. If your entertainment is good enough, you should be able to start your own platform. And in my opinion, all the whinging and the moaning and the complaining about, I got deplatformed. You'll see personalities on Instagram put this all the time. Account zapped at 381,000 followers. Trying to get all my followers back. Come on, man. Come on. You are making your living on someone else's platform. If what you have to say is so next level, start your own platform. And then the final thing I wanted to talk about today, very interesting time of year in the National Football League. We've got playoffs coming up. The Cowboys playing at the Buccaneers on Monday Night Football. Got my Seahawks going against the 49ers on Saturday afternoon, I believe. Seahawks beat out the Lions for that last playoff spot, but my boy Dan Motor City Campbell got those Lions to rise up and knock off the Packers at Lambeau Field on Sunday, and it was a thing of beauty. Dan Campbell with balls the size of cannonballs. Awesome coach. They started the season 1-6, and I believe that they won maybe their last 7 or 8 games. Amazing story over there. Detroit, Seattle picked to finish with one of the worst records in the league. Pete Carroll with some unreal video, locker room video. I'm going to throw it up on my TikTok and Instagram. Just fired me up last night. I was watching it. I had to stop watching it because my adrenaline was pumping because I wanted to go run through a brick wall. I love teamwork. I love it when a team gets counted out and then the team says, absolutely not, hell no. They rise up, they pull together, and they're stronger as a team than they would have been alone. That is the meaning of team. I love that. It's the coaching carousel, though, that's I find to be so fascinating in the National Football League. These guys get such a short amount of time to prove success. For example, Cliff Kingsbury, Texas Tech's very own. He's the one who really got Johnny Manziel on track, got Johnny to be Johnny Football. Cliff got hired after he was fired at Tech, got hired by the Arizona Cardinals. 10 months ago, signed an extension, multi-year through 2027. And he was fired at the beginning of this week, and their general manager stepped away. Looks like they'll be hiring a new coach, possibly Sean Payton, to try to get Kyler Murray back on track. It's a fascinating new world in the National Football League where these really good players have found a way to leverage their ability to its fullest extent. The same thing's happening in Denver. Denver traded away the farm to get Russell Wilson in the door. Denver had a very, very disappointing year. They fired Nathaniel Hackett, and they are interviewing everybody. They interviewed David Shaw, who stepped down from Stanford at the end of this last college football year. It's very interesting. And on that David Shaw note, David Shaw, excellent coach. He is a minority. He is an outstanding motivator, a very calm influence, and his football philosophy's awesome. It's ball control, defense, run the ball, win up front. But you got to wonder if you're a minority head coach candidate and you're being brought in by a team, if the only reason you're being brought in is to fulfill the terms of the Rooney Rule. And, you know, the Golden Globes were on last night, and I don't recall the name of the comedian on there, but the Golden Globes weren't on last year because the Golden Globes got called to the carpet for the lack of racial diversity on their committee. And the comedian who they had on there, Sohail, you'd recognize him right away, the guy who emceed last night, really got me thinking about the Rooney Rule, because he got up there and was talking about, you know, I'm here because I'm black. And he really, most of his Golden Globes...
Gerard Carmichael.
Yeah, and he's a funny guy. He was throwing the Golden Globes powers that be just under the bus, man. And a lot of people are really mad at him today. He made a hilarious and yet somewhat sad Whitney Houston joke that everyone's very upset about. But back to the NFL, the Rooney Rule. If you're building a football team and you need your captain of the ship in there to be somebody who is fully the spokesman for your organization, which is what head coaches in the NFL are. They're the ones who knock out the press conferences. They're the face of the organization along with the quarterback. If you are a minority and you're getting called in for an interview, are you saying, hey, are you calling me in here because you believe I have the makings of the face of your organization? Or did you invite me up here just because you want to check the box that you talk to a minority?
It's the age-old thing of tokenization versus systemic change, right? Where's the systemic change getting these people into the positions within the system versus it's just tokenized. It's just tokenization.
So in entertainment, like movies, music, whatever, I see that argument much more than I do in sports. In sports, the currency is winning. Now, Jerry Jones doesn't believe that, does he? Because they haven't won in forever, and he's got one of the most valuable sports franchises on the planet, maybe the most valuable, and they have no playoff success in the last 25 years. Why, if you were the owner of a team, if you were the GM of a team, would you bring a coach in and hire that coach just because they're a minority? You want to hire the best candidate, but I wonder if you have candidate 1A and 2A, and they're neck and neck, and one is a good old boy, and one is a minority, which way are you going? And I think that's the real conversation here. There are fantastic coaches out there who are minorities. Fantastic. Next level. Robert Saleh, one of my favorites. I've talked about him before for the Jets, runs the stairs before every game, road and home. Awesome guy. I don't know. I just think there's a conversation to be had there. And if I was one of those coaches, and that is a real fraternity, you can't really speak out and against the National Football League and be a viable candidate. You're really kind of bound by the fact that the NFL owns a day of the week, that the NFL really runs things. The fact that the NFL is still viable after all of the concussion bullshit is crazy. I don't know. I just think that it's a very interesting. I lost the screens there. A very interesting discussion to be had, and I think that if you were a minority head coaching candidate and you were brought in, that would almost be the first quote. What do you have to lose? You just sit down and say, so am I in here just to fulfill the Rooney Rule, or do you think that I can take this organization to the next level? Just get that elephant out of the room immediately. Go right at the obstacle. The obstacle is the way. It's interesting, man. But like you said, Sohail, the tokenism, the other side that's always
tokenism,
talking...
not tokenization. I'm hanging around these crypto people too much.
Tokenization. the arguing back about affirmative action. You never would have gotten that position if you weren't this color or this gender or that gender. You know, in a capitalist economy, society, culture, world that we live in, I would think that you would want the best candidate, that you would want the best possible employee that's going to help you win, whether it's in business, in sports, which is a business. I just think time will tell. I certainly think there are just a stack of qualified minority coaches out there who could get a team to run through a brick wall for them. But that's the other thing. Your team is looking at the organization leadership, and if they're looking at that organization leadership, does the organization leadership lose its credibility when they bring in a minority candidate that everybody knows isn't going to get hired? I mean, that to me is a slap in the face. And if I'm playing for an organization and my living depends on that, and I go get, medication delivery to fight off the cold that never was, just to keep my job, whatever it is, because this is my living and I have 5 to 6 years to make the money I'm going to make for the rest of my life if I'm a young NFL athlete. If they hire a minority coach, am I all in on that? Am I looking at the leadership of my team going, you guys are just playing games? Or am I going to buy in? Because coaches can do a lot. The talent in the NFL is actually very, very equal. That's where the saying any given Sunday comes from. They're getting paid over there to hit you just like you're getting paid over here to hit them. It is coaching that can take things to the next level.
You see what Ryan said? He says there's also the controversy about hiring for diversity, then firing before giving a real chance to succeed and saying, look, we're not racist.
That's what I'm talking about, man. And whether it's a sports organization, which there's a lot more emotion in the business of sports than there is in the business of like tech or construction, I think it does your culture no good to play a game like that. I think that's bullshit. The rule in the NFL is called the Rooney Rule. It's named after Art Rooney. The rule is a good rule. It's just a shame that it had to be put into place because I think that, man, you look at a guy like Mike Tomlin, the consistency with which he does business, anybody he plays for would run through a brick wall for him. So the fact that we even have to look at the opportunities given to humans by the color of their skin still, and it's 2023, speaks.
It's a shame, but it is what it is. How do you think we address the good old boy good old boy supremacy in terms of either NFL coaches or you mentioned affirmative action, all of that? How do you address it if it's not? I mean, obviously quota systems are wrong. How do you systemically address that? How do you make changes at a systematic level? Yeah,
I would think that in the very, very competitive business of professional sports, that the bottom line would be the determining factor. Do we think this guy can get us over the finish line or this guy can get us over the finish line? I don't give a fuck what they look like. I want to know what they sound like. I want to hear their philosophies. I'm going to look at their track records. You would think that, especially, right? The metric in sports is very simple, is it not? It's not we grew our profit quarter over quarter, right? It's we won or we lost. That's why sports are the ultimate reality TV. That's why the Super Bowl gets the eyes it gets. That's why the NFL is so popular. You are watching a reality television program in front of your eyes. You don't know what happened. Something crazy might happen, like Damar Hamlin Monday Night Football 2 weeks ago. You might watch a great comeback. You might watch the favorite absolutely stomp the underdog, like the TCU Georgia game. But that's the ultimate. Sports is the ultimate reality TV. You would think, right? You would think that the only thing that would matter is, can this guy or this gal help us get where we want to go? And that should be all that matters. I just think that the Rooney Rule, they put it in place because they're corporate and because they were getting criticized for it and because the NFL is as corporate and as milquetoast and as plain and no fun and no controversy as it can possibly get. And whenever there is anything mildly controversial, they shut that down in a heartbeat because they understand that the bottom line for those guys is not wins and losses. It's market share, and it's purchasing property, and it's growing their brands. Case in point, our boy Jerry Jones, right? The top guy. He doesn't give a damn. Yeah, he's bummed when they lose, but he's looking at that. He's looking at those bank accounts. $100 a car to park out there. $15 a beer.
Jeez.
You know, he's flying that helicopter
Is it
from
really
Arlington
that much
to
for
Frisky.
parking?
Yes, sir.
No.
100%. Look it up.
How much did you say? 100
Look it up.
bucks?
AT&T Stadium parking, one game parking to park out there. Anytime I've gone to a Cowboys game, I've Ubered. It's been
And
way cheaper.
how much is a ticket?
It just depends. They've got the standing room only, which is kind of a fun experience. I'm not a huge fan of that stadium.
We should go.
Okay.
I've never been.
It's interesting. It's quite the show. They put a lot into the periphery. They put more into the peripheral experience of your game day experience at Jerry World than they do to the on-field product, which is what a lot of Cowboys fans get up in arms about. I'm about out of time.
Yeah. Real quick, I just want to say meritocracy is the goal, right? And Ryan said parking starting as low as $20 up to $125 for game day parking.
Yeah, I think 20 is what you pay for non-Cowboys game day.
Yeah, got you.
But if you go out there for like a college football playoff, it's definitely 125
within
and
our
up.
economic institutions, within all our institutions, meritocracy is the goal under, you know, an ideal situation. But without the only way to have a true meritocracy is to have equality of opportunity and, you know, actual meritocracy, which just doesn't exist, right?
Well, to a degree. And then you find anomalies who have created for themselves escape velocity, like Deion Sanders, who's doing big things. He's DIYing the whole thing. The guy started a charter school in Dallas. It didn't work out. But you want to talk about a brand, about a guy who hustles, a dude who has a top-notch message. His message to his recruits, next level. Was never really a Deion fan when he was playing. I'm not like really into the flashy, look at me guys, but Deion sets the standard, man. And his message to young athletes is at a next level. What he's telling these young fellas about watching their bankroll, about being a high value man, about not getting caught up with your ego in how many different gals you got on the line, about chasing your goals. It's awesome. And I support Deion 100%. I consume his content. He fires me up. I love what he's doing on social media to help build the Colorado program up. It's amazing. What he's doing, no one's ever done. And that's awesome. I love that disrupting factor that Deion brings to the game. I think it's awesome. With that, I'll let you all go. Thank you for joining me for Curious Jess, JESS MARSHALL Podcast Solo Edition. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Check me out on Instagram and TikTok at Jess from the Northwest. Please like and subscribe here on the YouTube channel. We'll see y'all next time. What's up? Thanks for checking out my videos here on the JESS MARSHALL YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe for sure. Hit that bell. Press that button to watch the next video. If you got a question you have about any of the topics I bring up in the videos, drop a question below, and we'll be sure to get an answer back to you ASAP. See you on the next one.